Okay, here on Record Collector Magazine, gives me good pleasure to be here at the Hard Rock Cafe amongst all this fantastic memorabilia we're surrounded by, and I'm here with Mark Tremonti.
What's happening? Thanks for having me.
And it's good to see you, and got a new solo album out, and a solo band as well, Tremonti. You've got a second album coming out on June 8th, Cauterize, on Fret12 Records. And tell us about the sound of the album.
The sound is, you know, it's, if you're used to what I've done in the past, it's a little heavier than that. You know, it's got a lot of my speed metal roots in there, but I still think that the melody is the most important part. So it's kind of trying to make it musically as interesting and heavy as possible, but keeping intact the melody.
And you sort of describe yourself as a bit for fashion. It's obviously a step from Creed and Alter Bridge. And are you the man to take thrash into the future? Do you think like thrash has lacked a bit of melody in the past?
No, I mean, I think melody is important no matter what genre, other than instrumental. But then the guitars and whatnot have to have good melody. I just think without it, you know, some heavy bands are great. Some of the progressive bands that just have no vocals I could listen to all day long. But still, I'm more moved by a good melody.
Mm-hmm. And what's giving you the hunger for this? You know, is this what you're more comfortable with? Like with Creed and Alter Bridge, it goes to a big audience, but you're more happy to play thrash?
Yeah, that's what I grew up with. It's what I've always wanted to do. So, you know, when you're in college starting a band, you're kind of at the mercy of the people you surround yourself with. So I wanted to push the metal, and I got a little bit of it in there, but this is now me being able to push it as much as I want.
Excellent. And when you were younger, what bands were you listening to?
Oh gosh, Slayer, Metallica, Testament, King Diamond, Merciful Fate, Laz Rocket, you know, stuff along those lines. You know, but AC/DC, Megadeth.
Yeah. And obviously, like thrash, when we think about it as an art form, it's about '82. It sort of came out, exploded. It's over 30 years ago, and you're like an 8-year-old boy then. So you know, what age did you first get into it?
Master of Puppets was what really introduced me to it. And I think I was in maybe 7th grade, and from there I bought the Kill 'Em All record, and then I bought the Ride the Lightning record, and then I went out and find the Megadeth records, you know, the first couple of Megadeth records, and some old Anthrax records, and it just kind of grew from there. And then I ran into King Diamond and some dark stuff, and I found Celtic Frost, which was a huge one for me.
This is all of the European scene, really, Celtic Frost and King Diamond.
Celtic Frost, I think of all my favorite bands of all time, Metallica and Celtic Frost are my two favorites. And then I got into punk. I got into Bad Brains and Black Flag.
Would that been from the thrash bands, like bands like Anthrax, God Save the Queen as a cover version? Metallica did a few punk versions, like Misfits. Was it through them that you got into punk?
No, I just dug it. I had a buddy, a friend of mine, whose brother listened to punk, and it was kind of, to me, it was dangerous. You know, it was, his brother was always in trouble, and always locked himself in his room. And I was looking through his records, and they were all a ton of Black Flag records. So I went to the store and bought what I thought was the most dangerous stuff I could get my hand on, and bought Black Flag Loose Nut. And I loved it, and then I bought My War, which was probably my favorite Black Flag record. And then I bought the Bad Brains stuff, fell in love with Bad Brains, you know, and got into Minor Threat. A little bit of Agent Orange when the whole skateboard scene was going on.
And a lot of these thrash classics, even Metallica and Megadeth and Slayer, even those bands, so the classic albums they made is when they were in the early days, when they were like pouring, drinking left, right and centre, living in the gutter. And a lot of that thrash, the energy came from the hunger, if you know what I mean. And so where's that come from in Tremonti? Because like, you are a successful musician and sold over 14 million records, so where do you rip the hunger and anger into the thrash scene yourself?
It's just always been something I've loved, you know, and I'm not an angry, vicious person, but I just love. It's almost like a fantasy world. Listen to that stuff. I just like the mood it sets, and I like to recreate some of those moods, you know. And, I just love moody, dark music.
Excellent. And let's talk about the album Cauterize, because you've been quite prolific. You've written like 25 songs, you know. So where's the spur of energy come from?
Those ideas, most of them were already there. They were just, the reason I did that many songs is I went through my hard drive. I wanted to get as many of those ideas out, so one day they're just not left to fade into dust, you know, and hence the name of the second record.
Yes, in fact, you just mentioned dust, and it's amazing actually. I'm quite surprised that you've already mentioned this, because you're bringing out this album called Twice in June, and don't know when Dust exactly is coming out, but you've already stated there will be a follow-up album, which will be the main of those sort of songs. And
they're not. It's not an A-side, B-side thing.
Yeah.
It's, I took. I looked back at the 20 songs and made 2 dynamic records. You know, where they both have their flow to them. You know?
Are you sending out a statement there to fans that this is what you're going to be doing for the next couple of years?
I mean, definitely going to be doing Tremonti for a couple of years. You know, next year we'll be getting back into writing Alter Bridge, and I'll just have to kind of piggyback tours a little bit. You know?
So Alter Bridge fans can breathe. There will be an Alter Bridge album soon.
Yeah,
yeah, great. And talking of Alter Bridge, because you're playing Download Festival this year with Tremonti.
Yep.
You know, and you're playing on the same day as Miles Kennedy and Slash.
Yep.
Has that ever happened before?
Yeah, we've we've played 3 or 4 shows with Slash. We opened up for Tremonti opened up for Slash here in London, actually. But Slash has gotten up on stage with us a bunch of times. I've gotten up on stage with them when we were opening for them. I'd go back up on stage with them. But in the States, our very first show is with Slash. I think we Earth Day Birthday. There's 2 stages, and we're playing the B stage, and they're playing the A stage, and we go on after them.
Yeah.
And then Hell Yeah goes on, and then I think Five Finger Death Punch headlines that one. So we'll be back to back on that show.
Fantastic. And can fans expect sort of you be guesting with Slash or vice versa at Download?
I'm not sure, because I'll be going on right after them. So I'll probably be. You know, usually when it's spread out, it's much easier.
Yeah.
That's our first show. Of the So I'll probably be doing my homework.
And talking of festivals, what's the favourite festival you ever performed at?
They're all amazing. I think last year, between Download, Rock 'em Ring, and Hellfest are my 3 favorites.
Hellfest is a great little festival, actually. Yeah, it's a sort of new one on the scene. But
Rock 'em Ring just was. It was the last year in the ring there, so it was amazing. It looked great back on tape. Everything was great.
And musician on Cauterize, one of the musicians that jump out is Wolfgang Van Halen. Now, you can say, like, especially with older rock fans, he's sort of a victim of internet trawling. You know, it's like, how dare he take the place of Mike Anthony and Van Halen? But rightly so, you know, it's his dad's band and his uncle's band. And for people who don't really know Wolfgang, who is the real Wolfgang, and how is he as a musician, and how does he fit in your band?
Wolfgang's an extremely gifted musician. He's any bass player on earth that thinks Wolfgang's not as good as they are, I'd like to see him go toe to toe with Wolfgang. Wolfgang can pick out the hardest stuff in the world and learn it in 2 seconds. He's one of the quickest learners I've ever seen. Tons of technique for days, and can throw anything. Can play anything you throw at him.
Does he talk to you about, you know, like say, you must be aware that he's sort of public enemy #1 of some of the older Van Halen fans, not only the younger ones, but the older Van Halen fans, and how does he keep himself normal, if you know what I mean? You know?
He just knows. He knows how it goes.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like Miles singing with Slash. I'm sure there's some old
Axl, of course,
Axl fans that give him grief.
Do you know what? I think I'm one of them, actually.
You know, there's people that give us grief for not having Creed go on. You just got to do what's right for you and what makes you feel good, what keeps you inspired.
Fantastic. And this is for a record collector, and we always like to ask these sort of questions. What was the first record you ever bought?
The first record I ever bought was Jay Gow's band, Love Stinks.
Excellent. And what about the most recent?
The most recent record I bought was Noah. Was it Noah Grunison? No, it was Double Drive. I don't know the name of the record. It was the first Double Drive record.
And what's the first concert you ever went to?
Iron Maiden, Seventh Son of the Seventh Son tour with Ace Frehley's Comet.
Wow, fantastic. Yeah. And do you go to many concerts yourself these days, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always on tour, so I'm at festivals, so I get to see bands all the time.
Yeah.
Last concert I went to was my wife wanted to go see Elton John, so I took her to Elton John.
Oh, right. Yeah. Excellent artist. And you've sort of won many accolades over the years. You know, you won Grammys and Guitarist of the Year awards. And what unfulfilled ambitions do you have in the future?
Just to get this band up to a healthy level of touring, you know. Right now we're living in a van down by the river, you know, all traveling in one little bus and sharing one hotel room, and it'd just be nice to get this to a comfortable level so we can do it and have it be comfortable because we're enjoying it.
You say sort of you're not in the same sort of tour bus as you would be with Alter Bridge or Creed.
Yeah, so we're in the same bus, but we're only in one of them.
Yeah.
Alter Bridge would go out, we'd have 2 tour buses. This bus we have our band, the band that's opening up for us, our crew, everything. So
it's like back to the old days.
And on our day off, there's just one hotel room.
And is there anywhere in the world where you haven't performed yet, where you would like to go? Any specific countries you'd like to conquer?
I want to get down to South America with Tremonti and Alter Bridge. We've been down there with Creed, but definitely with Tremonti and Alter Bridge.
There's crazy audiences out there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic. Mark, it's been wonderful talking to you. The album Cauterize is out on June 8th on Fret12 Records, and check them out because it's a great album. And not long after that, there'll be an album, Dust, as well. So It's going to be a busy time.
Absolutely.
Mark, all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you.